Hey everyone, welcome to English That Works. I'm Jake.
And I'm Kate. So today we're diving into something that, honestly, I think we've all been there with this one.
Yeah, totally. We're talking about sounding confident in English at work. And I know that sounds like such a basic topic, but
No, but it's not though. I still get nervous sometimes, and English is my first language.
right? Exactly. So we're going to talk about meetings, dealing with interruptions, how to disagree with your boss without sounding rude, all that fun stuff.
Okay, so let's just jump right in. Speaking up in meetings. Jake, do you remember when you first started working and you'd have something to say but you just wouldn't?
Oh, wow, yeah. I mean, part of it was just being new, but there was definitely this voice in my head going, what if I sound stupid? What if my accent makes people not take me seriously?
But here's the thing though. I bet half the people in that meeting were thinking the exact same thing. Confidence issues aren't just an accent thing.
True. But you know what really helped me? I started preparing one or two things I wanted to say before the meeting even started.
Oh, like scripting it out?
Not exactly scripting, but more like, okay, if this topic comes up, here's my main point. Just so I'm not trying to think of everything on the spot.
That's actually really smart. Because the worst feeling is when you have a good idea, but by the time you figure out how to say it, the conversation's moved on.
Yes. Or someone else says basically the same thing, and you're like, that was my idea.
Okay, but what about when people interrupt you? Like, you start talking and someone just cuts you off?
Ugh, yeah. The fast-talking colleagues. I used to just give up when that happened.
But you can't do that, right? I mean, if you have something important to contribute.
Right, so now I'll usually wait for a pause and then say something like, I'd like to finish my thought, or going back to what I was saying. It's not rude, it's just clear.
Yeah, and honestly, most people don't even realize they're doing it. Some people are just fast processors and they get excited.
Totally. It's not usually malicious. But you still need to advocate for yourself, you know?
Speaking of advocating for yourself, disagreeing with your boss. This is where I still get a little nervous, not gonna lie.
Oh, this is such a tricky one. Because you want to be respectful, but you also don't want to just be a yes person.
Exactly. So what's your approach? How do you disagree without sounding confrontational?
I usually start with something that acknowledges their point first. Like, I understand where you're coming from, and I'm wondering if we might also consider. Or, that's an interesting perspective. What if we looked at it from this angle?
Oh, I like that. You're not saying they're wrong, you're just adding to the conversation.
Right. And sometimes I'll phrase it as a question instead of a statement. So instead of, that won't work because, I might say, how do you think this would affect the timeline?
You know what I struggle with, though? Asking for clarification when I don't understand something. Because I don't want to look confused or slow.
But everyone gets confused sometimes. I mean, people use jargon. They reference things from before you join the company.
True. But there's still that moment where you're like, should I know what they're talking about right now?
I get it. But I think there's a way to ask that actually makes you sound more professional, not less. Like, just to make sure I'm following, when you say X, are you referring to the project from last quarter?
Yeah, or can you help me understand the connection between these two things? That sounds way better than just, huh?
Exactly. And honestly, half the time when you ask for clarification, someone else in the room is thinking, oh good, I was confused too.
So true. Okay, but let's talk about adapting your communication style for different people. Because I feel like this is where it gets really complicated.
What do you mean exactly?
Should you talk differently to your boss versus your teammates versus someone from a different department? And if so, how much is too much?
That's a really good question. I think there's a difference between being fake and just being aware of your audience.
Right, like you wouldn't explain things the same way to a new intern as you would to someone who's been there for 10 years.
Exactly. But I don't think you should change your personality or pretend to be someone you're not. It's more about adjusting your approach.
Like with my boss, I tend to be more structured in how I present ideas. I'll lead with the main point and then give the details. With my teammates, I might just dive into the story.
That makes sense. And some people want lots of context. Other people just want the bottom line.
You know what I still find challenging, though? Work small talk. Like those 5 minutes before a meeting starts or when you're waiting for the elevator.
Oh, small talk is the worst. I never know if I should ask about their weekend or just comment on the weather or what.
Right? And it feels so awkward when there's just silence, but then you don't want to force conversation either.
So I actually have a strategy for this now. I keep a few go-to topics that are safe and easy, like if there's something happening in the office. Maybe they're renovating the break room, or there's a new coffee machine.
Oh, that's smart. So like current events, but office current events.
Yeah, or I might mention something I saw in the company newsletter, or ask about a project they're working on if I know about it. Just something that shows I'm engaged but isn't too personal.
You know what, though? I think we put too much pressure on ourselves with this stuff sometimes. Like, everyone feels awkward at work occasionally.
Yes, thank you. I used to think everyone else had it all figured out, and I was the only one struggling.
But then you talk to people and realize, no, that person who seems so confident, they're nervous about presenting to senior management. That person who always speaks up in meetings, they rehearse what they're going to say.
Exactly. And I think that's actually kind of reassuring, you know? It's not just about your English or your accent or where you're from. Work communication is just hard sometimes.
I have to admit something, though. I still get nervous when I have to present to senior management. Like, my heart rate goes up and everything.
Really? But you're so good at presentations.
I know. That's what's so weird about it. I can present to my team no problem, but put me in front of a VP and suddenly I'm second-guessing every word choice.
But see, that's what I mean. It's not about your English skills. It's about the situation. High-stakes situations make everyone nervous.
True. And I've gotten better at managing it. Like, I prepare more thoroughly for those presentations, and I remind myself that they asked me to be there for a reason.
That's such a good point. If you're in the room, you deserve to be in the room. Your ideas have value.
Exactly. And you know what else I've learned? People are usually more focused on the content than on how you're saying it.
Right? They want to hear your ideas, not judge your grammar. And if someone is judging your grammar instead of listening to your ideas, that says more about them than about you.
So true. I think the biggest thing for me has been realizing that confidence comes from practice, not from being perfect.
Yes. And it's okay to have off days. Sometimes you're going to stumble over words or forget what you wanted to say, and that's normal.
And honestly, the more you speak up, the easier it gets. Like the first time you disagree with your boss might feel terrifying, but by the 5th time, it's just part of doing your job.
Absolutely. It's like building a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
And you start to develop your own style too. Like you figure out what phrases work for you, what tone feels natural.
Yes. And you realize that there isn't one right way to communicate at work. Different approaches work for different people.
Okay, so as we wrap up here, I think the main thing we want people to take away is that everyone feels awkward at work sometimes. Everyone.
Right. Whether English is your first language or your third language. Whether you've been in your job for 6 months or 6 years. We all have moments where we don't know exactly what to say.
And that's totally normal. The key is just to keep practicing, keep showing up, and remember that your perspective is valuable.
Confidence really does come from practice. So start small, be patient with yourself, and don't be afraid to speak up.
Thanks for listening to English That Works. We'll be back next week with more real talk about navigating work in English.
Until then, keep practicing and remember, you've got this.